I try to apply equal pressure with both my thumb and my fingers as I pinch. If I apply a lot of pressure with my thumb, you'll see it will stretch the clay outward, and so I can develop some cracks there. As it is, this clay body is kind of on the short end, so it's not as elastic as some other clays, so it has a tendency to crack. I don't worry about the rim cracking because that will get cut off later. I think with hand building, almost all the time you end up cutting your rim off because it takes a lot of abuse. I'm just pinching little by little. Don't want to have any like really deep pinches.
Maybe you can tell us a little bit about why you got into pottery.
I don't really know why I got into pottery. I've always had the interest, and in 1998 I was working on an NSF grant at the chemistry department at University of Minnesota, and I saw that they had a throwing class, a pottery throwing class there at the university, like a summer kind of fun type of class, and I signed up to take it. I just loved it. I spent lots of time there. And then for the next several years, I worked in. I went back to college for my last year after that summer. I took a pottery class at Seton Hill College, and that class was both throwing and hand building. But at that point, I still really consider myself more of a thrower. I think a lot of people really get addicted to the wheel because you can make pots quite quickly, and it's so satisfying to to throw a lump of clay on the wheel and then end up with a nice form at the end. So I continued with that when I moved to Montgomery County. I was living in Montgomery County from 1999 to 2001, and I took classes at Montgomery County Community College, which had a great studio there. And I still was mainly throwing. But then what happened is I decided to move to Philadelphia and start graduate school at Temple. And I was living in an apartment that, had my bedroom was quite large, and I still had all this clay. I still wanted to work in clay. I kind of had to take a little bit of a hiatus because I couldn't afford to rent studio space. I didn't have the time really. And so what I started doing was, I thought, well, how can I make pots with so little space and so little equipment? I didn't have, shelves or anything like that. So I took a board. I had two boards in the tower part of my bedroom, and I had one board for wedging. I worked on another board, and I made quill pots and pinch pots, and I just dried them until I could eventually, get around to, to getting into a studio where I could fire this stuff. And I just really been into hand building ever since. The pinching sort of came as I wanted to make quill pots that had nice rounded bottoms. And the way I had learned to make quill pots is to have a flat slab and then you start your coils up from there. Well, that's not going to give you a flat bottom. So I started pinching the bottoms so that they would be, nice and rounded rather than flat. And I said, oh, I like these forms. I might just leave them as bowls instead of making larger pitchers or things like that. And I like the idea that the the forms are kind of organic. I mean, you can see that they're smooth, but they're not perfectly circular. and that's great. So